Welcome to the Full Nelson. So you're in the market for a high quality close quarter optic, but you don't want to spend $400 to $800 on an aim point. This is the solution to your problem. This is a Vortex Spitfire AR prism scope. This model and the previous model, which is simply designated the Spitfire 1X, offer the best value for money of any close quarter optic on the market today. In fact, I would go as far as to say that if they make some minor improvements to this design, it would be my #1 recommendation over any close quarter optic available on the market, regardless of the price. That's a pretty bold statement, but today I'm going to attempt to defend that statement and talk about why I think this design of having a prism scope with illumination is better than a traditional red dot design. With the traditional red dot, you have a piece of glass, and then you have an emitter, which is on this particular red dot back in here. Depending on the design, it's in somewhere inside the housing or whatever on something like an aim point. And when you turn on the red dot, that emitter projects the dot onto the glass, okay? Red dots are awesome because they're really great for low light. You can use them with night vision setups, and also they have no magnification. You shoot them with both eyes open, all that stuff. So they're really great for close quarters because of all of those reasons. Now, the disadvantage with a red dot is if for some reason the battery dies or if the electronics fail, that's what you're looking at. Only on an AR, if you have no backup sights, you're looking at absolutely nothing. You have an optic that is no longer working, okay? So that's the basic premise of how a red dot works. Now, a traditional rifle scope, or this prism scope here, don't need an emitter to project the image that you're looking at because the reticle is etched directly into the glass, okay? So what that means is if for some reason the illumination fails on this, if I turn the illumination on and it dies, or something happens to the electronics, or the battery dies for the illumination, or any of that type of stuff, I still have a working optic. So there's a fail-safe there that does not exist with a red dot. The only downside with this platform is they have not learned to master the battery life aspect of it yet and make it to where it will last, 2 years or 5 years or 8 years or whatever, like an aim point. The second that they learn to get the battery life for the illumination to last just as long as something like an aim point, there will be no reason to use an aim point. Period. That is my honest opinion. As long as the design is robust enough, which I believe having the reticle etched into the glass is more robust than simply having it projecting the way a traditional red dot works and having the potential issues with the battery life or the potential issues with the electronics failing. This, in my opinion, overcomes all of those problems. Now, to give you guys an idea what the reticle looks like, this probably isn't going to be pleasant because I've got my lighting. But you can see the reticle in there. It's actually illuminated right now. There's a circle, big outer circle with a smaller circle inside, and then a small dot on the inside of that. Both this model and the previous Vortex 1X Spitfire feature that same reticle design. You can change them from red to green, or you can just turn it off completely. And when you turn it off completely, I'll show you what you're looking at. You can still see there's a reticle etched in there, okay? Now, some of you may say, well, what if the batteries die, or what if the electronics fail, in the dark? I'm gonna have a problem. And if you're running night vision or something like that, that's true. But if you're doing what a lot of people do, which is running a flashlight on your AR, the black reticle works perfectly fine with a flashlight on your AR. There is enough contrast when you're actually illuminating the target. It's just like shooting in the middle of the day with a black reticle. It works great. So for me, that's not really an issue. But like I said, you have that extra fail-safe, that extra level of redundancy that I really like. This model can be had for anywhere from $200 to $250 at the time I'm making this video, while the previous model I have seen as cheap as $130 up to around $200. you will not find a better optic for the money. I have tried a lot of optics. I've tried almost all the prism scopes. I've tried a variety of red dots. And my honest opinion is that this is as good as it gets for the price range. And with enhancements to the battery life, it would be the best optic potentially on the planet. Now, there are some differences for close quarter shooting, of course. There are other optics that are much better suited for other tasks, but for close quarters, it would be the best. Now, there are some differences between this version and the previous version that I want to talk about. And those are that this takes a AAA battery, while the previous version takes a button type battery, kind of like an Aimpoint Micro. This version has the illumination buttons on the back, while the previous version has a knob for illumination. And I guess the final thing is the aesthetics of it. This one is on this mount, and it's kind of it almost looks like a cantilever mount, but it's kind of forward of the mount. You can see the rear lens is more here, and then it kind of sticks out this way, while the previous version is centered on the mount, okay? So those are the major differences between them. I actually prefer the previous version slightly over this one. They're both excellent. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend any of them, but I do prefer having the illumination knob as opposed to the buttons. I don't like pressing the buttons up and down, trying to get the brightness just right or any of that. I'd much rather have a knob that I can just grab that thing and crank it to where I want it, and I'm done. It's just faster to me. That's a better design. But like I said, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend any one of them because you have the etched reticle. Now, another thing I really like with these over an Aimpoint is the field of view. When you hold this up to your face, it's almost like all of this stuff you see on the outside, the lens caps, any of that, it's almost like it sucks your eye in and that stuff completely disappears. The field of view feels like it's twice as large as what most red dots feel like. It doesn't obscure your view or your vision as much. I use it with both eyes open and everything just like you'd use a red dot. And I really like that aspect as far as the field of view is concerned. So those are some of my impressions or my feelings about this particular optic. I think they're awesome. This one or one just like it will probably be staying permanently on my AR pistol. For something like that or anything that you have designed to use for close quarters, it's just an awesome optic for the money. If you guys have any questions or comments about this particular optic, feel free to leave those in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.